This week's declaration is I'm a worshipper, and we're looking at the picture out of the boys' book this week because I actually prefer it to the one in the girls' book. And this theme has evolved out of the I'm a storm sleeper that we looked at last week, because the most powerful time that we can worship is in the middle of the storm. That is the time when we can offer God a sacrifice of praise, when it's not convenient, when it's not comfortable, when it's not what we want to do, but when we stand on the promises of who God is and say, I don't understand, but I choose to praise you. I choose to trust you, even though my circumstances are a mess. Our little baby boy was really unwell this week. I mean, not really unwell, he's fine, but he was unhappy and he was screaming in his cot, and nothing I could do could console him. So I ended up moving a bed, lying next to him and just trying to comfort him by being there. Still not working. And to be honest, it was torturous to be there in such close proximity to a baby screaming at full pelt and not being able to help. And so I just lay down and just started to sing and worship God and sing in tongues and just try and access God's peace rather than allowing my heart to get caught up in the frenzy of this little baby. And that was a really good thing to do. It really taught my heart more about these declarations of I'm a storm sleeper and I'm a worshipper, because often it's actually by worshipping that we enter the rest that enables us to sleep in the storm. We all know what it's like to try and go to sleep with a mind full of worries, you know, the night before your exams, and your mind is running through every maths equation you've ever learned. And it's hard to just switch off. So to sleep in the storm by just saying, I must sleep, I must relax, can be really difficult. But by worshipping God in the middle of the storm, that is when the whole focus of our heart changes. And instead of being so caught up by the circumstances, we realign our focus to God, who is unchanging, who is faithful, who is trustworthy, who's not worried about a thing. And that is when his rest and his peace comes that enables us to sleep in the storm. Secondly, when we worship God amidst the inconvenience, amidst the storm, that is when it's most precious to him. That is when we can really give him this gift of our choice to worship. When we die, if we're going to heaven, I mean, hopefully if you are going to heaven when you die, if you're not sure where you're going when you die, that is the main thing, and you really need to get right with God. If you do know you're going to heaven, once we get there, we are going to worship God non-stop. It's not going to be a choice. We're just going to be amazed by him and like, whoa, praise you, you're amazing. While we're here and we're only seeing in part, it's a choice to worship. And even more when everything's going wrong, it's a choice to worship. Down posted below, you'll see Bill Johnson's recent talk. It's amazing. Please listen. He talks all about the pearly gates in heaven mentioned in Revelation 21. They're actually made out of a single pearl, these gates. Gates often represent praise. Isaiah 60 talks about the gates being named praise. Walls, salvation, and gates, praise. Also, we hear, come into his courts with thanksgiving and his gates with praise. It's a way of entering into God's presence through praise. So praise and gates are linked. These heavenly gates are made of pearls, and pearls are formed out of irritation. When the sand gets in the oyster shell, the oyster reacts, does its thing, and that makes a pearl. So these beautiful pearly gates of praise, think about them as being formed out of the praise that comes out of irritation, the worship that comes out of the storm, the worship that comes out of your worst days and your worst trials. They are what make the most beautiful pearly gates the best offering to our King. You are a storm sleeper and you are a storm worshipper.